So in case you somehow didn't already know, Rust has officially been put into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, and I have to say, shockingly, there's a pretty damn good response from this map. It might have to do with that they didn't totally screw up the spawns, like some other map that was added into the game. Now, instead of just getting some sweet gameplay on Rust and uploading it to you guys, what I thought I would do is look at the history of this map, the evolution, if you will. Now, this map has had many twists and turns, but in total, it has been in 4 different Call of Duties, and one of them in a very, very strange way. This is a map that completely revolutionized the phrase 1v1 me, bro. Now, if you're a real OG and you played Xbox, you may remember people trying to sell you 10th prestige lobbies on this map, or getting incessant messages from 6-year-olds screaming at you to 1v1 them quickscopes only on this map.
Yeah, that shit, mate. You had the fucking dashboard at your little fucking mates, innit? You got pwned!
So, ladies and gentlemen, take a walk with me down memory lane, all the way back to the very beginning. This is the evolution of Rust, and it started back in Modern Warfare 2. Now, Rust originally became popular because it was the smallest map in the game. It was the easiest map to 1v1 on. People loved quickscoping lobbies or doing other funny stuff like throwing knives only. It also was interesting because it was the first really small map in a Call of Duty game to actually have a good amount of elevation, with a giant tower being in the middle of the map. But this map wasn't only significant because of its multiplayer presence, it was also extremely significant because of the campaign as well. Now, I'm not going to give you a full Modern Warfare 2 history lesson here, but essentially, this map takes place in Hotel Bravo in Afghanistan. This is where Soap and Captain Price hunt down General Shepard, and at the very end of the game, you may recognize some of this scenery. And that is because in the final fight scene with General Shepard, you're actually just outside of Rust. And of course, this final scene with the throwing knife is one of the most iconic in all of Call of Duty. So aside from chilling in the background there of the very last mission of the game, why was this map so popular? Well, I think part of it is just simplicity. It was a square map that was really, really small. Now, a difference between this map and, say, Shipment is that there's actually a lot of things to take cover behind. There's a giant tower in the middle of the map, there's a lot of crates and cars that you can get behind and use as head glitches. So there was a bit more of leniency to be a little bit more tactical on this map compared to something like Shipment. Also, it was a little bit bigger. That being said, if you got something like an AC-130 or a chopper gunner, there's nothing your enemies could do. Also, I can't not mention, it's also the smallest map in the game, and generally speaking, people like those. But there was one other reason that people really liked this map. It was the tower. A lot of people could do this with the tower. But after this, we didn't see Rust for a really, really long time. In fact, the next time that we even saw Rust was in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, I know, you may be thinking, hold the goddamn phone, there is no Rust in Advanced Warfare. Well, you're kind of right and kind of wrong. You see, in the Supremacy DLC, which is, I believe, the 3rd DLC for Advanced Warfare, they added a map called Compound, which was an Atlas training facility at Iron's compound. But off in the distance, and pretty much only if you were to go into spectate mode and go into free roam, if you look off in the distance, there are some shipping containers set up in a very, very recognizable shape. In fact, this looks identical to Rust in pretty much every way possible. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about this. First of all, you were never able to actually play on this part of the map or on any sort of Rust within this game. Now, it was rumored after people saw this that in the next DLC that we were going to get Rust, but that actually never happened. It looks identical to the original map, and this is the only Call of Duty game that was not made by Infinity Ward to have anything like Rust in it whatsoever. Remember that Advanced Warfare was made by Sledgehammer. So no, Rust was not playable in Advanced Warfare, but it was a cool little Easter egg. The next playable version of Rust, however, did come out in a 3D movement Call of Duty game. That is, of course, Infinite Warfare. Once again, in Infinite Warfare, Rust was not the name of the map. The name of the map was called XS, and it didn't really look like Rust, but the layout was exactly the same. It was much larger than the original Rust, and that's mainly because of the fact that in Infinite Warfare you had 3D movement, which meant you could pretty much jump up onto the tower from any location in the middle of the map. But since you could move around the map faster and higher and wider and pretty much everything, they had to make Rust a little bit bigger in pretty much every way possible. Another cool thing is you could actually go inside of the tube in this location that you're seeing here. And in one of the corners of the map, they put an entire, basically high-rise building that you could go inside to seek some cover from kill streaks if they got called in. All in all, it wasn't nearly identical to the original Rust, and in several areas there was extra buildings and cover you could actually go behind. But the mainstays of Rust were there. It was a square map with a giant tower in the middle with the basic same structure. Also, I have to say it, this map also took place on top of a skyscraper, so it was in a very, very different location. And as you can clearly see, Infinity Ward took a very different direction with XS compared to the original Rust. Unlike the next Call of Duty we're going to talk about, Modern Warfare 2019. So, to be quite honest with you, there's not a ton I can actually say about the new Modern Warfare version of Rust, and the reason is, the map is nearly identical to that of Modern Warfare 2. Clearly, their design idea of this one is, well, they liked it in Modern Warfare 2, so let's bring back the exact same thing. Even down to its size, proportions, pretty much identical. The only main difference is, of course, a graphical difference. Now, of course, because of that graphical difference, there's some textures and things on the map that look a little bit different, but all in all, the size, the shape, pretty much exactly the same. Now, there is one little difference. On this side of the map you're seeing here, there's actually a way to get through to the other side, whereas in Modern Warfare 2, there was nothing there. You had to go completely all the way around. That's really the only change. Now, it appears as though the design strategy behind this one is, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it, and that's exactly what they did here. So, as far as a comparison of these maps, now, the two maps that we know as Rust are nearly identical. They took Modern Warfare 2's version and just upped the graphics. But as we saw in Infinite Warfare, as the game went far into the future, the game all of a sudden made the map bigger, added some additions onto it, and completely changed the way the map looked. They took the map into the future, and then in the most recent Call of Duty game, brought it back to its grassroots. Or I guess since it's Rust, it's more like its sand roots. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I actually really like Rust, the new version of it in Modern Warfare, but what one is my favorite? Personally, you're never going to beat Rust in Modern Warfare 2. I have so many memories of 1v1s on that map, and when it came up in the rotation, everyone just wanted to play it. To me, Rust is just the definition of nostalgia. Even playing it now in Modern Warfare 2019, it makes me feel like I'm back in 2009 again. If you want your mind blown, if you played this back in Modern Warfare 2, this version came out 11 years later. It has been 11 years since the original Rust came out, which is mind-blowing if you asked me. Back then, I was in grade 10. Now, I'm 25. So in those 11 years, a ton of things in my life have changed, but one thing that clearly has not is Rust. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the evolution of Rust. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I'd much appreciate it if you did hit that like button. You can also let me know down in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see covered in the evolution series in the future. And of course, if you like what you see here, want to stay up to date on all my videos, the best way to do so is make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this to us.